Let's talk about CSS modules in React.js. CSS modules. The advantage of CSS modules are the styles are scoped locally to the component and it apply the unique styles. I'll going to show a demo of those things. How does the styles are getting applied? It will append, it will prefix and suffix the randomly generated numbers and text to uniquely identify the class name. And with this, if there is a if you use the same styles across multiple components, it will reduce the risk of naming conflicts in the applications. Again, if you have class A, class B, if it is applied at the login component, it will not apply the class as it is. It is going to apply the dynamic styles with some dynamically generated prefix. Okay, and the advantage is you should be able to apply these dynamic styles based upon the component state and properties. Uh, the styles are very usable, reusable. So in case of an inline style, they are not reusable. Whereas if you take to the CSS modules, they make reusable styles, and you should be able to export and import the CSS modules into any of your components. And it follows the modular pattern. With that, it makes the creation of and maintenance of the styles easy in a modular fashion. Yeah, so the main advantage is it combines the benefit of local scoping with the maintainability of external styles, because external styles are more maintainable but not scoped globally scoped, whereas CSS modules combines those features, like they are scoped to a component, but however you can get the flexibility of maintaining them as an external style sheet, and it is suitable for all variable sizes and complexity. So here we are going to define a new CSS called as login.module.css. Whenever you are trying to define the CSS for a modular fashion, you need to prefix module. You cannot just say styles.css. It will be like styles.module.css. If your explicit intention is to use inside the modules, then we need to explicitly call it as login.module.css. So here I am trying to define some styles for the login form, input group, label, input, button, all those stuff. Okay, let's have a look at our login.js. So here in the login.js, we are using the class name. You remember every time we want to use in JSX, we should not specify class, it should be class name. And you will be importing the styles as styles at the top. So I will be prefixing the styles, what are the modules we import, I'll show in the demo. And we call it as styles.input group, styles.label, styles.input, in that fashion. So you should be able to import them as the styles and try to use the whatever the classes which are available there. Let's look at our Visual Studio code. Let's try to demonstrate. We'll go to the styles and I'll create first login dot module dot css. The naming convention is important. So we want to define the Control C, define the styles for the login component with the form label, input, button, etc. Okay, let me define some styles for this. So let me go and try to define some styles for the component. In the interest of time, instead of me going and entering the styles auto offer all of them manually, I'm going to copy paste them, because our main scope was how to use the login components over there. So again, I have the input group and we have the label control, how the label we want to populate the styles, and I have an input control, we want to apply some styles. Then we'll have a submit button to which you want to have the styles over here. Okay, so I better want to call it as submit button. Yeah, fine, we can just apply the styles accordingly. Now let's go to our login.c. See, these are some random styles with some columns, entire basic information available there. I'll just try to modify some of these styles in a proper way so that it will comes in a standard width. So Then yeah, let's go and define our login.js component. This is our main component where we want to define the style. So first what we need to do is, as first thing, let's go and try to import the use state. That's our first objective. Yeah, no, it should not be React. We should be very careful. So it should be import use state. Okay, that's good. Then we need to import the styles from our styles.css. So we'll say import styles from login.module.css. Perfect. And let's define our login component. We can define the login component as, okay, and as I need to maintain the username and password. So like, okay, for example, in this case I want to have a username and password. I can call it as a email and password also. So let me go and try to define the email and password. So I don't want to handle the submit method, so I just want to define this. Let's go and try to first return a form group. Okay, let me go and put a return statement. Yeah, inside the return statement I can have different styles applied here in a simpler fashion. Okay, and try to close. Okay, very important thing is you need to have a to wrap up this inside this parenthesis. Okay, let's go to this. Yeah, should be written statement here. Perfect. Then I'm going to keep this written. So I want to apply. So for the div style dot container input. Okay, I want to even apply the styles here. So what are the styles we have been imported? Styles dot. Okay, we don't have styles dot container. So we want to have the form. We'll try to wrap up this inside a form tag. Okay, let's do that. Oh, it is always a good practice to wrap up all the form controls inside a form tag. So on this form and on submit, we want to have a handle submit method. Of course, we are not doing any code base for that now. And again, we'll apply the class name as styles dot login form. Okay, let's keep this. Let me try to close this at this space. Okay, we are going to close the login form. Yeah, perfect. Now, before we go further, let's see whether our styles are getting applied or not properly. Let me go and try to export this login form. It's perfectly fine. Go to our app.js. Try to import the login component. So yes, we have been imported the login component here. And yeah, I'll just time being I'll comment these two things and I'll keep only the, yeah, I'll go component. I'll keep the my component one also for the reference. Okay, yeah, so let's try to run our application. So it takes some time to build it and run it. Login.js. Okay, see, handle submit is not defined at line number 1115. So the reason, I don't know what is the issue. We tried defining the handle method, at the same time this handle method is not available. So as we are not interested, just remove this. Okay, not required. Okay, I'm sorry. I remove this. I think now it should be perfect. Yeah, we have the my component one. This another component. Let's have the login with email and things here. So let's go and try to apply the styles. When you say styles dot login form, okay, so we have imported the styles from login.module.cs. In the login.module.cs we have a login form. Okay, perfect. Now let's see whether the style is getting applied or not to the so we don't have any class called as container, so I better go and remove this class name from here. Our main intention was, let's see for the form whether the login form styles are getting applied or not. Let's go to inspect, go to elements, yeah, so we can see in CSS whether those styles are getting applied or not. Yes, we have the class equal to styles dot login form. Okay, so I know what was the mistake we are trying to do here. Right? See, whenever you want to apply the class name, you should not give this in a string. Otherwise, it will take it as a string. Whenever you are trying to refer to styles, we need to always put into the curly braces. So whenever you're trying to put the this flower brackets, it indicates that you are trying to refer to the code. Okay, let's come back. Yes, now our styles are getting applied. Let's go to, yeah, if you see here to the form class on the right hand side, if you observe, we're able to see these styles are getting applied. Login dot module dot css. Okay, one important thing, if you try to observe here, it is having, though our styles are login form, it prefix the component name. At the same time, it will try to suffix a randomly generated string over there. But if you go and try to look at the login.module.css, it is still with the login form.css only. We don't have any dynamic classes being applied here. Whereas if you go to the elements, it will apply the prefix with the component name and your class name. And if you see the class name is login form, it has been prefixed with the component name and with a randomly generated number. So now let's go and try to apply these styles, because if you see that for our label control and all other stuff, the styles has been not applied. Let's go and try to apply those styles to the controls and see how it behaves. Let's go to the here and let me, for example, for this div tag, we'll try to define the group. Like I want to group this, see, again it should not be in double quotes, it should be in the curly braces. We can say styles dot input group, the class. So input group, what exactly we are doing, we are just applying some display flex direction, margin, top and all. So I request everyone to go through those flex properties and flex direction. I'm not focusing more on how it is the CSS, I'm focusing more on how to use the CSS modules here. Okay, if you go here, we are going to apply the class name styles.input. Again, for the input control also, we can go and apply the class name as styles dot input field. Yeah, so let's see if there is any style colors input field. No, it is there as input, so we better change it to input. Okay, perfect. Now we can do the same thing to this control also, and at the same time we will try to wrap up this div tag here. Try to have this div tag, and again we'll have this div tag applied for this next control also. Perfectly fine. And I think we don't need this running div tag here, and applied. Yes, perfect. Okay, now let's try to apply for our button also the styles. What is the class name? So if you observe our styles, what are the styles here for the button? Yeah, so we are given the style class name as styles dot button. Let's see, styles dot button. So perfect. Let's see our output. Yeah, if you see here, you're able to see in a group, and you're able to see your submit button coming in a style and all those stuff. Let me go and inspect now. If you go to the elements, yeah, if you see your form tag has got login form stuff, form styles applied, grouping styles has been applied. One important thing you need to make a note here is your styles are defined without any prefix. Like if you see, it is input, it is label and input group. So these are the ones. However, when the styles are applied, you notice that the component name is prefixed along with some dynamically generated string and number combination. The advantage of this CSS modules is you should be able to use the same style sheets across multiple modules like login module and login component and registration. As the component name is prefixed, we don't have to worry about whether one component style overridden the styles of other component. Let's do a quick recap of what exactly we have discussed. We have created a login module.css, and we went and imported the styles in our login component, and we have defined the styles with styles.login form, styles.input group, and when we run this component, we have seen that component name is prefixed along with the class name with the dynamic suffix appended to it.